G'day legends, Blake here with another video. And do you have a 40-gallon breeder at home just waiting for fish and you're just not quite sure what to put in it? Well, today I'm going to give you 10 unique options that you may not have thought about before. If you are Australian like me, you might not be sure what a 40-gallon breeder size is, so it's 90 centimeters by 45 centimeters by 45 centimeters, a really great profile. I'm excited for this one. Let's jump straight in with number one. Now, it would be un-Australian of me to start off with anything other than a rainbow fish. These guys here are Goyder River rainbows. They're going to be way too big for a 40 breeder, but Praycock's rainbowfish, aka dwarf neon rainbowfish, or another option, Maccullochai rainbowfish, are a great option for a tank this size. Similar to these guys, they're going to show great schooling behavior, swimming back and forth and back and forth. They're going to show fantastic coloration, especially first thing in the morning. So if you get home at the time that you're, best want to view your tank, then I'd recommend starting your light cycle at that time so that you'll get the best out of them. But other than that, they're just a fantastic active option. They eat pretty much everything. They're simple to breed. They just breed with a spawning mop. The babies do require a bit of care to raise up, but other than that, these guys are fantastic, especially if you've done the whole Tetra thing and you're just looking for the next step up. The next one I'm going to recommend is a fish that I absolutely fell in love with when I first got into the hobby, and it sent me on a really big spiral of Apistogrammas. Now, I would say that Apistogramma McMasteri show absolutely beautiful coloration, and they're the best balance between behavior and color in an Apistogramma, in my opinion. Some of the more colorful ones do get more aggressive. So McMasteri, they're going to be easy enough to find. They're going to show the really fantastic coloration. They're going to be unlike anything you ever see at your big box fish store. They're pretty easy to breed and they're just really, really rewarding. In a 40 breeder, you might even be able to get away with 2 pairs if you have enough hides and caves and things like that, and enough line of sight blocks. Apistogramma McMasteri, beautiful, beautiful fish. Check him out. So for number 3, we're going to head over to Lake Tanganyika in Africa, and we're going to look at Shelldwellers and possibly rock dwellers. So this guy here is a Neolamprologus multifasciatus, and this guy here is a Juliodochromis transcriptus, and both of these will cohabitate beautifully. Neolamprologus multifasciatus, they're known as Shelldwellers, really affordable. You do get some flashes of color. You get a blue eye and some yellow fins, but mostly what you're getting is some really interesting behavior. It's fantastic to talk these fish through with your friends if they're not into aquariums, because they'll breed in this case, we've got some escargot shells here, but in the wild they breed within Neothorma shells, which are a native species of snail. But in any case, they're going to raise up their own fry, show some brilliant parenting, and grow up a nice little colony, depending on how many you start with. I'd recommend 4 to 6. And rock dwellers do a similar thing. They will also raise up their fry pretty comfortably. Some of them can get a bit bigger than others. I'd recommend maybe Transcriptus as a maximum size. Dickfeldi are another good one, but do a bit more research. But within a 40 breeder, I'd say you could easily get 4 to 6 Shellies and maybe 4 rock dwellers, and that would be a really cool tank. Eventually, you'd have to have some backup plans so they don't sort of overstock the tank, or alternatively, you could just have rock dwellers or Shelldwellers. And next one I think would be a great option if you're really like bedders, gouramis, and other anabantoids. You're looking for something a bit bigger, a bit more flashy, and that's paradise fish. Paradise fish are great. They're really cold water tolerant, so if you want to keep a temperate aquarium, then or if you're having issues with the energy requirements of keeping aquariums, then that's potentially a way to go. They're a little bit more peaceful than bedders, so they can be kept within a group of 4 to 6. But again, another species that's going to be quite flashy. You're definitely going to see them within a 40 breeder. They're going to eat anything, and they're just going to be, a great fish to keep, watch, observe, and have fun with. Next 2 are going to be for the catfish fanatic. These guys here are stirbicories. You could definitely keep those, but for something a little bit more dramatic, I'm going to suggest emerald cories. These guys are going to get quite chunky, 2 to 3 inches. They're going to be a bit more dramatic, and again, just something that's going to have a bit more of a presence than your typical Corydoras like these guys. They're going to just be a bit different. And if you've got a space of a 40 breeder, why not go to that extra level? Emerald Corydoras, they're not the most flashy or colorful things ever, but as the name suggests, they do have a nice flash of green or shimmer to them. But other than that, it's gonna just be the sort of cute quirkiness, the sort of wiggliness, especially in that larger profile of a bigger Corydoras. And if that's not enough catfish for one day, you could also get glass catfish. Now, when I'm filming this, we're a couple of weeks out from Halloween, and glass catfish are really, really great schooling fish. They're gonna school nice and tight. You could get a decent group of 6 or 8 of those guys. And again, looking really, really interesting, really easy to feed, but yeah, something that's you just don't see every day. A glass catfish, you can see their full internal organs and everything else going on with them, so that makes them fun to feed and keep and all those sorts of things. So if you want to do a spooky themed aquarium with that 40 breeder, then glass catfish could be the way to go. But if not, you'll get a really nice schooling fish. Now, if you want to get really weird and glass catfish weren't weird enough for you, why not turn that 40 breeder into a snail factory? Mystery snails come in a variety of colors these days. Purples, blues, ivory, heaps of weird combos. And a 40 breeder, you could do a great breeding tank for those. You can make a little money on the side as well. They're pretty easy to ship or sell to an aquarium store. Really easy to feed. A can of beans goes a long way with mystery snails. You could drop the water level down in a tank like that, keep some nice tight lids on there, and that way they can put their egg sacs up above that water line, which is going to be really interesting to see. And it does look very alien-like if you're not familiar. But I think a 40 breeder purely for breeding mystery snails could be a great way to fund other aquarium ventures, or could just look really interesting in itself. Next one I think is way too often overlooked, and that is these guys here, ruby barbs. Too often, in my opinion, people go for tiger barbs, maybe these 5-banded barbs which are here, but ruby barbs look awesome in my opinion, especially those big dominant males with the really red forehead. The females are not really going to get that, but they still have some fantastic striping to them. But when you get a big unit like maybe that one there, there we go, look at that. Like, who's gonna say no to keeping a big old school of those? In a 40 breeder, you could probably get away with, I don't know, 10, 12, maybe 15. Like, you could get quite a lot of these guys in that tank, and they're gonna explore the place really well. They're gonna school at times if they feel threatened, really easy to feed, and just, you get amazing coloration with them. One thing that is really important with this is that it's a great plant safe option. You can see the tank there and is quite heavily planted, and they just love exploring through there. So ruby barbs as well, really affordable, really easy to find. So no matter where you are in the world, you should be able to pick some of these guys up, and I think they'd be great for a 40 breeder. Next one for not quite a safe plant option is yabbies. Yabbies in Australia, crawfish, crayfish in America and other parts of the world. Particularly the blue kind could be really fun to keep with kids, but do keep a tight lid on there because they can crawl out and nobody wants to find a dead yabby or crawfish or crayfish on their floor. So yeah, not quite as plant safe, but still pretty easy to feed, and they can breed within the aquarium, which is pretty fun. The female will carry around a bunch of eggs on her creature, so that's really cool to see. And again, just a unique option that you don't see every day. And to finish off where we started, if a 40 breeder is not perfect for a pair of angelfish, I don't know what is. In particular, I like these blue sapphire angelfish. I just think they have the nice natural touch to them, but they also show brilliant coloration, especially when in breeding mode, and that's the little girl there. A lot of people say that they're aggressive or have issues with them, but I think so long as you're keeping them in pairs or 3 or more, that shouldn't really be happening. And for the most part, they're not as aggressive as other cichlids, where they're gonna sort of really do damage. Angelfish kind of just peck at things, so I've never found it to be an issue. And you can even see in the background here, I've got some endlers with them, which they could really easily eat, but they just leave them alone and really just worry about each other, especially after a big rain and a water change when it might be breeding time in here. So yeah, I really love a nice big pair of angelfish, and there's heaps of options as well. like these blue sapphires, of course. And then over here, I can show you some of my others. These guys are Peruvian Ultim Angelfish. There's a bit of algae, but that does happen. Again, a bit more natural, but these guys will get a little bit taller, but you can run through a catalog pretty quickly of different types of angelfish and pick one that suits your fancy. So angelfish to me are a no-brainer for an empty 40 breeder. So there you go, guys, that is my 10 fish for a 40-gallon breeder. If the video did help you out, it always helps me out to smash like, hit subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And if you're still stuck for ideas, I've also got this top 10 on a 20-gallon aquarium, and you could of course double up those stockings and chuck them in a 40 breeder if you so fancy. Sometimes I think that can actually work better as well. So check that one out. Other than that, I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.